Today we talked to Carlacia Grant. We're really excited to have her. She's really hit the scene over the past couple years as playing Cleo on Netflix's Outer Banks series. You know, she was introduced in season 2 and her role has only grown more and more, and she's brought so much fun to the character. Today we're really talking about what it's been like for her, you know, with this incredible role, all of the different attention that she's been able to manage, as well as, you know, really what it took her to get here. We really hope you enjoy this episode.
Well, Carlacia, thank you so much for being here today. You are, it's happening.
Yeah.
It is,
Doing it.
Outer Banks is everywhere.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so
Amazing.
exciting, and we just thank you for being here. One of the things we really like to do on In Her Words is we want to hear your story. Our listeners want to hear your story and how you started, what your ideas were, your path to get you to this point.
Yeah.
So we'd love to hear that. So how you
Where do we start?
You started in pageantry, yes?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I started in pageants. It was one of those things where I would tell my mom, and my family's from the Caribbean, so like being in the arts is not allowed. Like you have to
really?
only be like a doctor or like a lawyer or like something like
wow.
guaranteed. So like for me to say that I wanted to be like a creative person, I really accepted. But I just kept like hounding my mom. I was like, oh my God, I want to do this. Like, I want to do this. And she's like, whatever. Then I guess someone tells her about a pageant. And
Okay.
she was like, fine.
How old were you when this?
13.
Okay.
She was like, fine. If you do this, if you do well in this pageant, then I'll believe you. And then I was like, okay, cool. And then I ended up winning the pageant. So after that, she was like, oh, okay. Like you are like really passionate about this. And then once you win the pageants, you started getting like modeling contracts. And I was doing modeling. And we were living in like South Florida at the time. So that eventually turned into me being like, I think I really want to be an actor, which I think I wanted to do from the jump. But I don't think I really knew like the path on how to get there. And then I just kind of kept pursuing it from there. I did go to college, and then I dropped out of college.
Were you, when you were a little girl, were you always singing and dancing and dressing up? And
Yes.
That
So
side?
I would like go in my mom's closet and like put on her clothes and put on her shoes. And I would always be like into clothes, be into fashion. I would do all these like monologues like to myself. My grandmother has like tapes of me like being a kid.
Are you like locking them down, like lock and key?
I haven't. I know.
Or are you going to start sneaking them out on Instagram?
I don't know if I'm going to put them out on Instagram. I feel like eventually I'm going to do like a, I don't know, like a biography or something. I feel like I'm saving all that stuff for there. But there are tapes of me being like really young, like pretending to be like a, because at one point I wanted to be like a news broadcaster.
Oh, okay.
So I would be there like, hi, I'm Carlacia and you're watching. Like I would like emulate like the people I would see on TV, and then I don't know, I just kind of stuck with it.
Okay.
Here we are.
When you were at school, what were you thinking about studying?
I wasn't thinking about studying anything. I just kind of always knew that I wanted to be in like the arts. So I would tell my teachers, like, I don't even see the point of being in school right now because like I'm going to be like an actor and I'm going to be a model. So like there's really no point in this. And I remember my high school teacher told me, she was like, you know, you should probably think of something like more realistic. And I was like, well, I don't really care about realism. You know, I'd rather like die pursuing it. Actually, we had a great conversation not too long ago. But like, this is really just all I've ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I would just be daydreaming about it. And then I went to college because I tried to get into USC. So I flew all the way out here to audition to go to USC. And I didn't get into the theater program. So I was devastated. So I was like, man, maybe this is a sign. Like, maybe I shouldn't do it. So I ended up going to school for communications.
Okay.
And
back in Florida?
yes.
Okay.
I went to FAU in Florida.
Okay.
And 2 days into it, I was already over it. I was like, this can't be my life. Like, I can't do this. So then I was like, and then I stuck with it for like 2 years, and I was miserable. I was like, man, I just don't feel like I'm living in my passion. You know, I'm not living in my dream. So I dropped out and moved to New York City.
Were you just following FAU in the tournament?
Yes, it's so exciting.
Oh my gosh!
So
coming
exciting.
out of nowhere.
Out of
They're
nowhere.
amazing.
They were not that good when I was going to school with them. But I definitely got bragging rights now.
Yeah, no kidding. That's everybody does. So sorry.
Oh,
I was,
sorry.
The basketball interruption.
No.
So when you went to New York,
yeah.
When you were even at school, you know, before you made those decisions, were you acting on the side? Were you trying to get into commercials? Were you doing self-tape? What was that looking like for you?
So I was definitely doing commercials. I was doing a lot of commercial acting. I had an agent at the time, and I would, you know, I mean, you're probably out there. Like I've done like commercials, little spots here and there, and like posters or stuff, and doing like little stuff like here and there.
So how did you, did you do a lot of studying? It's like for you to have an agent and to start building that business around yourself. How did that come to bear for you?
I think first it was like being in acting classes and being around people who were like-minded. And then I would just ask people, like I was like, as a kid, I would go up to like, and you're in Miami, so like you were close to like, there were real like celebrities around. So like I would just walk up to like whoever and I would be like, hey, I want to be an actor. Like, what do I do to like, become an actor?
Yeah.
And eventually this one lady, Joanna, she told me, she was like, you got to get an agent. And I was like, well, how do I get an agent? She's like, I don't know. You take a photo and you send it to them. So then I did that. And then, you audition and then
they just
How
kinda
was
came
your
together.
how was your family support through all of this? Was your mom, were they still supporting that this is what you wanted to do?
It was rocky. It definitely got rocky, especially once I was like dropping out of school. Like it definitely was rocky. But eventually they came around. We had a conversation about it. My mom was always really supportive of me. She didn't really appreciate that I dropped out of school because she was like, if anything happens, you have something to fall back on. Definitely me and my dad had like our struggles. And then we had a conversation eventually one day because I was like, I just kind of like stopped telling him like about my dreams, like what I wanted to do because we like met with like not like excitement and stuff.
Mhm.
And I just kind of told him, I was like, I know this isn't what you want from me, but I'm happy doing it. Like, so maybe I'm not doing what you want me to do. And at the time, I think it was like a waiter or something working at like Cheesecake Factory or something. He's like, you're throwing away your life. And I was like, I'm happy. Even if I have to work at Cheesecake Factory for the rest of my life and I still get to go on these auditions, this is what makes me happy. And I'm happy.
It's incredible what to have.
And that like changed. Like after that, he was like, okay, I can appreciate like you being genuinely happy doing it.
That is such self-awareness for that age, right?
Yeah.
Of knowing like what you wanted so deeply.
Yeah.
And then what was your first audition like? Where it's like, because you were on, it was PBS. Did I get that right? Or
PBS?
Was it
I don't think it
PBS?
was on PBS.
It wasn't PBS.
I think so.
I have this. This is on
What
me.
the heck was my first audition?
No, I'm sorry. It was the History Channel.
Was it the History Channel?
It was.
Oh, that was like my first
Roots, yeah.
Yes, that was my first audition though.
Okay. What was that first experience like on Roots?
That was amazing. Actually, before that, I did Game of Silence on NBC. That was like my first network TV credit.
What was that like?
Fun. It was exciting. I was so nervous. And you're just kind of like in your trailer giving yourself like the pep talk, like, okay, you can go out and do this. It's exactly like how you did on your self-tape. But it was really fun. It was really rewarding getting to do it because right before that, there was kind of like a job that I didn't get. It was kind of like I was so close. It was between me and this other girl, and I didn't get it.
Okay.
And I was so sad. And then the next week, I ended up getting that one.
When you were in front of the camera, you hear so much of actresses on their first or actors on their first kind of gig.
Yeah.
They get on camera and they're like, wait, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like they didn't teach this in class. Like,
yeah.
What were your experiences like? Like, what are the ones that you remember being, where you're like, can I do this? Like, what were the doubts that hit you at that point, and how did you push through them? Or if you had them?
I've had every doubt in the world. I think the doubt was like, is this really possible? Because you think about it, it's like a pipe dream, truthfully, to even like have the vision or have the dream to want to, be an actor. It's a very competitive field or whatever. But I definitely felt like, a lot of times that it wasn't going to happen. Like I felt like, I was giving my all and I would get these auditions and maybe I'll get a call back or maybe I'll get really close and it wouldn't work out. So I'd be like, maybe this is a sign. Like maybe this is a sign that I should quit. Or maybe this is a sign I should go back to school, move back to Florida and like give up, because I feel like I'm sacrificing so much being away from my family, working at a job I hate, just so I can be available like to do auditions. So definitely having all those feelings. And I would give myself those days of being like, I want to quit. And I would live in the day, be like, you know what, this is my last day and I quit, whatever. Okay. Throw myself a pity party. And then the next day I'd be over it. Or like the next 2 days I'd be over it because the passion is going to come back.
Right.
So I think I would just diary or I would like pray and be like, God, man, if this isn't for me, like just take away the urge. Like take away the urge for me to do it. Because if you just take away the urge, I won't pursue it anymore. And it just wouldn't go away. Or sometimes I'll get like little signs. So like a really crazy thing. So there was a day that I was so over it, I was gonna quit. Like I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I'm so tired of it. And I was like, at the time, I actually was an Uber driver. And I was driving for Uber and I was like, I'm over it. I gotta go to work today. I gotta make my rent. Like I don't really wanna do this. But I asked for a sign. I was like, you know what? This is my day. I'm gonna quit. I just need a sign. So I get to work. First person that I pick up is, I don't know, I'm gonna say her name, Kylie Bunbury, like who I had her picture on my wall, like when I lived in like New Orleans. She's like the lead of Pitch, and I used to say I want a career just like her, just like her, just like her. And now
she was in your Uber.
Yes, like so I pick her up. So like I pull up and I see her, and I'm like, no way, no way, no way. That's her.
My word.
At first I was gonna drive off because I was like, I can't do this. Like, I cannot do this. Like, this is way too much. Literally, I was like, okay, I should drive off. I should drive off. Like, because like, there's no way like this is really happening.
She might affect the score.
Yeah.
She might affect your rating.
Like, and I was like, I was panicking. And then she's there and I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't even get out to help her wear bags because I was like, literally just like there's no way this is happening. And she gets in the car with me and immediately, like, we just start hitting off. I was playing SZA. She likes SZA. And we immediately just started hitting it off. And, like...
That's amazing.
Just, like, on, like, regular life stuff. And she, like, told me, like, the greatest advice that I've ever needed. And just, like, that conversation was like, oh, my God. Like, this is, like, a sign. And that kind of, like, gave me, like, more, like, ammunition to, like, keep, like, pursuing it.
What was the advice?
She said, don't worry about trying to be, like, don't worry about going to any of the events. Like, don't worry about being, like, the biggest networker. Just be great at what you do, and everything else will come for that. Like, just focus on the craft. That's it. Like, once you focus on the craft, everything else will come to you. And it's the truth. Like, just focus on the art and the craft, and everything else will work itself out.
And then how soon after that, you know, what were the next steps after that you took?
It definitely wasn't soon after that. It was probably years after that, but it just was, I think eventually the pandemic happened. Yeah. And the pandemic really gave me a time to really sit down and, like, assess. Okay. Like, is this what I want to do? Is this what I really want to be pursuing? And then I actually had time. Because truthfully, like, I was working at Uber. Like, I was doing all types of dead or, like, odd jobs, like, trying to, like, keep all my bills paid. So I was like, I would get an audition and be like so tired, like, oh my gosh, like I'm excited about it, but I'm so tired. So I really couldn't even, or I feel like couldn't really give my all like to it because it's like I'm like serving two masters here, like at this time. But like the pandemic hit and then I really just had time, and I was like, well, there's no way I'm coming out of this pandemic without anything. So I just dedicated myself like to watching movies and being the best in my acting classes and just be like, you know, I'm going to use this for me. And I came out of the pandemic and like a month later, 2 months later, I started to like change everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was the process for Outer Banks like for you?
It's funny.
In terms of auditioning and everything.
It was a funny story because it was like, this wasn't even a role that I was going to audition for. Like I kept saying no to it. Like,
oh, really?
Genuinely, I kept saying no to it. It was really one of my friends. Because there was this other project I was just up for, and I swore this was the one. I was like, this is the one. It's perfect. I am this girl. It couldn't be written more perfectly. It was for a series that I loved, and I was like, this is it. And I didn't get it. But the casting director was like, we just want you to know that, like, it's nothing to do with you. You are amazing. So I was kind of in my feelings, you know, by the time I was like, I was just kind of like, no. And I had like so many auditions at the time. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that one because I read it and I was like, no one's ever going to believe I can play this character because she's like a badass and she's like tough and then she speaks with an accent. But it was really my friend Kareem Lewis, who I owe my first child to at this point. He was telling me like, you should do it. Like, you should really do it. Like, he read it. He was like, you could do it. It'll be great. I'm like, nope, I got this one over here. I'm not going to do it. Next day he comes back. He said, you should really do this one. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, I have this thing. He was like, no, you should really do it. And then he just started reading it. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, okay, I'll read it.
The ones you don't care about.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I was like,
how it
fine. No, like, I'll read it. So then we started reading it together. And I was like, oh, my God, this is really cool. Like, this is really fun. And then we ended up taping it. And I felt from the tape that it was special. Like after we did it and like, cause I did over the course of like a few days. I was like, oh man, this one like feels really, really special. And he was like, nah. After like the last take, we bumped it. He was like, yeah, you got it. And I was like, yeah, I think I got it. Like, or at least I'm at least in the top few. At least, like bare minimum, I'm at least in the top few. And I didn't hear anything.
How long did it take?
About a month.
Oh, wow.
So I sent it in.
You and I keep overlapping.
I know.
Our leaders here. We're like jinxing each other.
Oh my gosh, can I use curse words?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry. Yeah, about a month. So about a month went by. I didn't hear anything. I was like, that is crazy. I thought at least I was in like the top few. Unbeknownst to me, what I heard is they were casting other people. Like, yeah. So they were actually looking at other people. I don't know whatever happened with my tape.
Okay.
Who knows whatever happened. So like a month goes by. I hear absolutely nothing. I was like, wow, that's so crazy. Because like, thought that one was a good one. And I was on the phone with my manager, and my manager was like, hey, you know, they're still looking for that girl, you know, because I was telling her, I was like, I want to go to Barbados. Rihanna's from Barbados, you know, that's fun. She was like, yeah, they're still looking for that girl. I was like, that is absolutely crazy, because how the hell could they have done callbacks without my tape? Like, I really feel like my tape was really, really good. She was like, I don't know. Let's just send it again.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. Fine. At the time, my best friend Donald had the tape because I didn't even have it. I was traveling. I was filming something else. And I tracked down the tape. I was like, here's the tape. Send it in. They sent in the tape again. 2 days later, they were like, we want you for a chemistry read. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was filming something. So we were trying to work out the scheduling, like to be able to do the chemistry read. They were trying to do it on Sunday. We couldn't do it on Sunday. Finally got in and we did the chemistry read. And the chemistry read was like amazing. Like amazing, because we all got along like so well. I read with like Maddie and Chase and Rudy, and like literally from the second like the cameras came on, like we were laughing because it was over Zoom too. So we were laughing, and then we had like some of the creators on, and it just was like our energies were just so in sync. Like from the moment like we met, and I was like, oh my gosh, like if I don't get this, then like I could go to bed knowing that I did my absolute best. Like
that must be a good feeling.
Yeah, like and that's like you start to learn that like at the end of the day, it's really not about like the role. It's about like the room. And if I feel like I did my very best, then like sometimes you have to check it up to the game. And then a month goes by again. I don't hear anything. So I never call my agent. Like I pride myself in just being like, whatever. And I called my agent like, because they hit me immediately after. Like I must have hung up the Zoom. 2 minutes later, my phone goes off. Casting's in love with you. They love you. They want you to hold your schedule. Like they're telling us to like hold. Like you are their top choice. Like hold everything. And I'm like, wow. Okay, can't do that. Like
so that's a big ask.
Yeah, exactly. And then nothing. Again, they go completely dark on me. Completely dark for a month. I don't hear anything.
Oh my Lord.
So I'm in there doubting. I'm sitting there like, there's no way. Like, there's no way.
That's like the meanest thing you could do is like hold your schedule.
Yeah,
and
hold your schedule and then ghost me.
Did you have to get? Were you still filming the other project that you
at that point? No, at that point I had just wrapped that. But like now I have other auditions, and I can't even really like wrap my brain around like doing something else. Like
because you're invested at this point. You're like I know the cast. At that point was like Outer Banks is lightning in a bottle. Like it took off like that.
Yeah.
What did you know that at the time? Like how did that sync up with when it kind of took off?
No, I didn't. It didn't really hit me that it was kind of like this big thing until the day before my chemistry read.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't watch the show. I guess I lived under a rock. One of my friends did tell me, he was like, Outer Banks, like if you get this, like this is like a huge, like you don't understand. Like this is a really good show. I'm like, really? He's like,
it was a cultural phenomenon.
Like you don't understand. And I was like, okay, but it still wasn't the thing that really like attracted me to it.
Yeah.
Like, but it wasn't until the night before the chemistry read, because I didn't go on social media. I didn't really want to know who anyone was. Like I just wanted to like bring my personal experience to it. I didn't want to like psych myself out and like start, I don't know. I just wanted to like genuinely get to know people.
It's nice to live under a rock and do the best you can do. Versus being intimidated by the fanfare around it. Exactly. When you psych yourself out. You perform typically better when you don't do that, right?
Exactly. So I stayed away from all of that stuff. But it was the night before, and my manager never calls me like before like something. And it was like my manager was calling me, my agent's calling me, and they're just like, hey, just wanted to check in. Are you ready for tomorrow? And I'm like,
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thanks
like,
for the call.
but then it was like, this might be a big deal because no one, like, usually they're like pretty chill, but they're like, just call us immediately after, you know, like I was like, oh, this might be a big deal. That's when I kind of was like, oh, like, okay. And then after they ghosted me, I was like, let me go see what the show's about. Anyways. And then I was like, oh, this is a big show. And then people were telling me, like, once I did it, like, once I got to set, like my first day on set, they were like, yeah, your life's never going to be the same way again. I'm like, okay. Like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
But then once we like started to, it I don't know, I guess it came in stages.
So it's a month later, they've ghosted you.
Yeah.
What did your agent do or your manager?
They ghosted me. And I was just like, you know, guess I didn't get it. Or like, whatever. And then they called me like Monday. It was like a Monday. It was definitely like the Monday before, like right after the industry got back. So like January something. Oh, it was January 13th. I know because I told myself if I don't get like if I don't make it quote unquote by my birthday, which was January 18th, I'm quitting. That's what I said.
Oh my God.
This kind of happens. I feel like I watched like a random clip on Instagram just popped up about like Ryan Reynolds did the same thing.
Like giving yourself that date.
Like that date, like if I'm going to give it 3 more months.
Yes.
That's it. Oh, it was John Krasinski. And he was talking, he's like, and then I got The Office.
Yeah.
So it was like that.
Yeah, I had one of those things and I probably never would have, I truly never would have did it. But it was one of those things where I was like, by my birthday, you know, I'm going to do it. That's all right. So it was January 13th. They called and they were like, hey, they want to do a chemistry read with you. And I was like, a chemistry read? What else do we need to see here? And I'm like, well, who else is going in on the chemistry read? Like, who else? Like, who's still, like, and they're like, no, it's just you. I was like, just me, chemistry read, and we don't have an offer? They're like, nope, no offer. And they wanted to call you and make it clear that you did not have the part yet. So come back in and do the chemistry read. I was like, okay, whatever. We do the chemistry read. And I already had the part. You know, I had the part since the chemistry read, but I guess they got bugged down with like COVID or like whatever the heck was going on in the set. But like everyone was like, they were like, yeah, we saw your tape like the day after and we already knew you had the part. Like everyone on set, everyone knew that you were casted. It just didn't get back to you. So like in the chemistry, like halfway through the chemistry.
The one person who needs to know when they show up on set.
Right.
Like wasn't told.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we've been on your Instagram. Like we know everything about you. Like, but so during the chemistry, like midway through, they're like, congratulations, welcome to the cast. Meanwhile, I was already on the cast, which explains why everyone was so like.
So did you then, when you found out, did you binge season 1? Just
no,
like
I binged
and started getting the fanfare under.
No, because I watched season 1, not before my first audition. I watched like an episode or 2, but after I felt
like
so
after
good
you got the
about the audition, I was like,
okay,
let me go deeper. And I liked it. So I was like, all right, let me just finish. But then after I got the part, I was like, oh, and then you start to put pieces together.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this might be like a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So how, in terms of the filming, did you start filming during COVID?
Yeah.
That's season 2. And then, okay.
So we started filming probably like January 2021. But the way we filmed it, it was like, so I had to film in Charleston at first. So brought me to Charleston and I did like a scene in Charleston. And then we filmed in Barbados for like a month or 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Okay. It's, how did your life change overnight when it aired? Did you feel like, oh my God, this is it? Like it's not going to be the same again.
It's one of those things where it just kind of like happens in stages, because I feel like, like I'm still the same person. Like I don't feel like I personally changed, but I think definitely more with season 3 than season 2. Because I feel like season 2, I could still kind of like move around like the way I wanted to like move around. And I wasn't really that recognizable, where sometimes if I put a hat on, my hair was so different, like they would be so jealous because I would be able to like walk out and like be around people and no one would know.
Madeline and Chase and everybody else does not get that opportunity.
No, they don't.
Like,
no, they
must
don't.
be bombarded.
They don't. Even still, like they don't. We still have those conversations of like, you literally can be like in the middle of like people and no one would know.
That's crazy.
Well, that was how it was.
It's like I was going to say. Season 3, I also think that Netflix put so much. It's like you had the big, you had the Poglandia concert. Yeah. Netflix's marketing really beefed it up to the point of how you guys do a ton of digital and social now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that was like that on season 1. Like, I know that, like, you know, as we talked about beforehand, like, my daughter is like, they bake cakes. Like, these kids, like, your fan base, it's such a huge swath of type of people, you know, like everything from moms to 20-year-olds all the way down to 9 and 10-year-olds, you know, and they're so excited that it's, you know, they live on this content that you're creating, whether it be TikTok and the different platforms that you guys all hit.
Yeah. Well, it keeps it going. It keeps it going in the off season. They don't have they don't have to have that break because social media keeps it going.
Yeah.
Is that exhausting? Is that good? Do you feel like you guys need the break?
No, I feel like we're just so lucky and appreciative. Not everyone has. It's like what you said. How many people in their lives can say that we're a part of a phenomenon?
Right.
Yeah.
But we know that in the moment. So it's not like 10 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, man, we really had it. We are all very well aware that this is a phenomenon and everyone doesn't get it. So we're so grateful, like, of all of this.
Are you finding your brand is expanding, you know, when you start talking about like American Eagle and all of these, are you seeing all of that come in now through the door quicker?
Absolutely.
Like, how are you evaluating that from your own brand perspective of like the things that you want to align with, especially as well as using your voice, even from like a more, you know, what matters to you in the world? You know, I think that your generation has so much more ability to spread, you know, what, you know, whether it's being your own brand or what you want to put out there in the world just because of the platforms. You know, how does that look for you?
For me, I think the first thought is, would I really use it? Or was this something that I really want to represent? That's always like the first thought. I don't want to, like, it, to me, it doesn't matter about the money or like, you know, or the fame or whatever. It's really just about, would I feel comfortable telling people this is what you should use? And if it's honest to me and if it's true to me. And that's really just my perspective. Like, you know, like I just did the e.l.f. cosmetics and that was amazing. That was great. But also I use e.l.f. cosmetics and have used e.l.f. cosmetics.
Yeah.
So it's always something that, anything that I try or anything that I'm representing or branding in, I always try the product first.
Okay.
And just like make sure, is this what it says it is? Is it going to get somebody a breakout? You know, I want to be like, because our audience, like the audience trusts
follow
me.
you.
Yeah.
That trust you don't want to break.
Ever. Yeah. So that's really the thing. It's just like, you know, is this something that I would feel comfortable telling my family about, right? Yeah. Like nieces. It's like, would I feel comfortable like doing that? And that's really where I go from there.
How, you know, how, when you start looking at your family now, are they, how do they feel about all of the fame and the increased eye on you? It's like you have a huge spotlight on you.
Yeah, they're gassed. They're so excited. Yeah, they're really, really excited. I've definitely gotten a lot cooler in the family. A lot cooler. Everybody wants to see me when I'm in town. You know, it's so amazing, really.
Do you have siblings?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Younger,
Are
older?
they artistic?
I have 6 siblings.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I'm kind of the only artist. So I have an older brother and then I have youngers. I'm second.
Are they enamored with the whole Outer Banks world?
Yes. It's crazy because like my siblings, so my brother, my sister Sabrina, and my brother Kyle watched Outer Banks during the pandemic. So they already knew everything about the show. So it was just the icing on top once I joined it. But my sister was already like, you're on Outer Banks. That was like my favorite
that's
binge show. So I didn't even have to explain like what it was. She was like, I know exactly like
where this is going. I know it. Well, I know it's going to happen.
Exactly.
So in terms of your role of Cleo, you know, how much of yourself are you bringing to that? You know, how much, you know, when you start looking at the characterization, what does that look like for you? Like, what's your process in terms of building her?
I think in order for me to be, I definitely use a lot more of her now. Like now that I've had like a whole season and I have to like create this arc. So I use some of myself, of course, like certain moments where it's like, where Cleo's like, even like her experience with like Pope.
Yeah.
You know, also I did pull from my mom too.
Okay.
Like I talked to my mom about like stuff because my mom, like I said, my mom is Haitian, and we had a whole conversation about like when she was in Haiti and how my grandmother came over and she didn't have my grandmother for like 6 or 7 years while she was like working to try to, you know, get them over here. And she said, she always just wanted like her own room because she had 4 sisters and she always had to share like everything. And when she came over here, the only time she had her own room was after she like divorced my dad. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she went like straight from like living in Haiti, living here with her sisters, and then she got married. So like she never had her own room. So like this season, that moment where you see Cleo like get
Take
her
the
own
room.
room.
Yeah.
So like definitely use that story. And I told the writers about that story, and I was like, yeah, I just think it would be a big moment for her, like, for her to have something of her own. So maybe not so more my experience, but definitely like my family's experience, because my mom was immigrant, my dad was immigrant. So all of those stories that they tell me of like, having an accent and not fitting in and just being able to craft like the loneliness of not being at home, know, and that's why there's certain moments where Cleo's complain about the weather because the weather would be different. And so I definitely use like anything I can use at the moment. And it could be like music, it could be like conversations. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and like take in that information. And when I'm in Barbados, like I'm always all around the island talking to whoever, like just wanting to get like all like the character research. I'll go to Oystins, or like me and Chloe would go to Oystins like on a regular day. Yeah. And just like sit around with like people like from the island.
Oh, that's really so
just
cool.
Like take
that's
it
awesome.
In. Yeah.
I was gonna say, because Cleo, her backstory hasn't really come to bear in the series. So you kind of have a very empty canvas. Yeah. So you can kind of develop that accordingly, but she's almost the most mature of everybody on the show. Yeah. She has all, because she's just kind of had to make it the way she is. So she knows how to, deal with people and how to, take what she wants out of situations and kind of like let the rest go. Exactly. She's she's an incredible character. Yeah. So there's a lot you can do with her in the coming seasons. We're excited about it.
Yeah. That's what I kind of love for her. And I feel like a lot of the backstory I've had to kind of create on my own, but that's kind of the fun part though. Yeah, like it's a fun part, of like sitting there and being able to create it on my own.
Because I think that the other characters in the show are all defined by their family or their situation. You know, like Sarah struggles, or John B. Everybody has their family or their situation around them. It's the whole conversation of the kooks or the pogues, right? And you kind of get to create what your backstory is, which is so unique in terms of the role. Yep. So. That must be a lot of fun for you.
It's great. And I also have conversations with the writers. Yeah. And I'm always like, she should be going through this or she should be going through that. And you've definitely seen a lot of that this season. Yeah. Of like my conversations of even like certain like words that, Cleo uses more this season. It's definitely been like research.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a lot of collaboration allowed with the creative team and with the writers? Do you guys get to spend, really put have your input into that?
Absolutely. Okay. And especially with me, because they told me straight up, listen, like, we hired you for a reason. We think that you are great. So, like, do whatever you want to do. And that's incredible. We would rather you go too far and we pull you back than you hold back.
Interesting.
So I definitely have had a lot of, like, creative freedom.
So in terms of other roles and other projects you're looking for beyond Outer Banks, what do what other roles are you looking at, or what other projects are you looking at this point, and where do you want to go?
I feel like I really want to do a rom-com.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good rom-com.
They don't make enough of them.
I know.
I was very bummed about Nancy Meyers.
I know. We want those back.
I know. I auditioned for that too.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
And now I know what happened.
You're not being ghosted.
I know. I was like, well, that was a really good take. So I want to do a really good rom-com. I want to do something like The Notebook. That's like one of my favorite movies ever, or like a Titanic. I really like romance stuff. Yeah. Right. So I really want to do romance and like action. Like I love Tomb Raider. Like stuff like that. I really would love to play like the new Tomb Raider.
Well, you have a lot of action in Outer Banks. Mm-hmm. It's, I was thinking about this the other day when my daughter was watching, when we were sitting on the couch watching it. I was like, that looks very strenuous.
I was like, do you do all of it yourself?
For the most part. Anything that's not like too dangerous. Yeah. But for the most part, we do our own stunts.
You guys are always hopping over bushes and up climbing things and running from things.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a very aggressive
It's
show.
a very aggressive
I
show.
told them, I was like, did you guys like, because I didn't do a fitness test like before. I was like,
everyone
everyone else.
treadmill beforehand?
Everyone else did fitness tests.
Really?
Yes. Everyone else did fitness tests. They did swimming tests. They did all types of like training. I didn't do any of that.
Oh my
so I was like, how did you guys know that I would just like figure it out? You guys are really winging it there. They're like, I don't know. We just thought you were a great actor. We didn't even care.
You're like, we skipped that check mark box, but we just thought it would work itself out.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's so physical. It's so physically taxing.
Yeah.
Like it's a great thing is that you stay in shape, but it's definitely like not one of those shows you just sit around, you know,
and like
in a
you
courtroom.
go from couch to coffee to coffee. It's not like
exactly
Friends, where they just move from set to set.
Exactly.
It's like you guys are always running. It's exhausting.
Always.
Everybody's always running.
Always. Always. You're either running or you're swimming or you're
There's
jumping
something.
or you're flying. It's always
Wild.
It's always something.
Is the cast, you know, you guys have such a unique chemistry, and you see that because of just like, you know, everything that you guys post, and when you see yourselves on interviews, it's like, how much fun is the set?
It's amazing. It really is. And that's another thing. It's like, not only do we get to do this great show, but I'm also just hanging with my friends.
Yeah.
Like that's like the best part of it. Is you're literally just hanging.
That's amazing.
With your friends, and we just like have fun and enjoy each other's company. So it feels like summer camp, truthfully. Like when we're filming.
Looks like summer camp
sometimes. It's literally like summer camp, and we're there, we're having a good time. Like behind the scenes, we're laughing and joking, and you know,
it's like you're sitting in Barbados for a couple months with your friends, and you can all drink. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. and then you're working, air quotes.
We're working.
Yeah,
having fun, jumping over something.
Exactly. But it's still fun because you're doing it with your friends.
That's amazing.
And it's like not only us, it's like our crew's amazing. Like we have a whole like tight-knit group.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you guys have, you know, when you're on scene in Charleston and so forth, now that people know where you film, you know, do you find fans go or show up to sets, or like what is that like?
Absolutely. It's insane.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know how they figure out where we're filming every day.
Yeah.
But they do figure it out, and usually if we're not on stage, if we're on location, there's going to be a crowd there.
Oh wow.
At all times. These one fans, they actually I don't even know how they find it sometimes, but these one fans flew in from France.
Oh my God.
Yes, to come to our set. And it was like it's early call time, and it was really hot in Charleston. And you get out your car, and they're like, oh, they have their France flags. I'm like, hey, we just came here from France. You know, we flew here. It was like it was like a few friends, and they all flew here from France to come and see it. And then it was just crazy because they gave us like little Eiffel Towers, and they waited all day long. It was so sweet, but it was so hot in Charleston that day. I was like, can you just send them some water or something? Yeah. Like, because they had to wait all day for us to wrap and then be able to take a photo. But like, yeah, in Charleston, it's like.
It gets hot.
True fans.
It does get hot. But just the fanfare in Charleston is really something.
Yeah. It's like I think back on, you know, just because I'm dating myself, but like,
I love
you know,
that.
I'm like so dating myself. But like it's almost like, you know, you hear just because it had a resurgence during COVID, but like even like Dawson's Creek where they filmed in Wilmington, and they used to say like, but they didn't have social media, so nobody knew where they were, and it was like we went into our bubble for 6 months, came out, but they also had like 23, 24 episode series, which is obviously shifted. But they used to say, like, you know, we go into this bubble, come out of it, and then, you know, once we did the press tour, and now it's constant for all of you, that people know where you are, where you're going. You know, you tag yourself in a restaurant, and people are there. Yeah. And the restaurant takes off, and it's wild. Yeah. So it's just changed so much over the years.
Yeah. But I think sometimes, I feel like it kind of made it a little bit better, truthfully.
Yeah.
Because it's not, like, I feel like back in the day, because you didn't have social media, like meeting your favorite celebrity was like this elusive thing that you can only
just never
dream
would.
and fathom about. Like it just was this really crazy thing. Like think about like when Michael Jackson was around, it was like this huge thing. Yeah. That like
you would never meet them.
You would never. You don't even think they could meet them.
Nosebleeds.
Right. Right.
Like this is as close as we're gonna get.
Like even imagine thinking about like taking a selfie with Michael Jackson. Like you just couldn't. Like it just doesn't exist. But like now that social media is there, it's like it's way more like toned down. You know, you might get a photo, you'd be like, oh yeah, I seen that person, because they see you every day on like social media. They feel like they know you. So it's less like, I mean, people are still there and excited, but I feel like
you become
it's less
part of their regular day.
paparazzi, like it's less paparazzi, it's less being chased by cars, it's a little less of that, I think.
After season 3, you are you are a solidified Pogue now.
Yeah.
Do you still have that little bit of anonymity, or is that gone?
I like to tell myself I do. I like to tell myself I do. But, slowly you start to see it's not that.
It's not that.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go.
Exactly. I start to see that it's not that. But, I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's great. We have, really great fans. So it's not like it's ever one of those things where you have, people love Cleo. People don't want to beat me up in the street.
You're not making a relationship decision
exactly.
in the 80s or 90s where it's died.
Exactly. So it's just people saying hi. It's
any insights on Cleo and Pope?
I genuinely hope they stay together. Yeah, that's my hope.
They're the cutest.
Oh, thank you.
They're absolutely the cutest.
Thank you.
I think your story is so inspiring. I was just thinking about how many fans and how many people think that what you have probably done is oh, she's an overnight success. She's so she's so pretty and she's so young and she's on this show, so it just happened like that.
Yeah.
And sharing this story of how hard you work.
Yeah.
And how hard you worked to get there, I think is so needed for especially what we're talking about with social media. I think that even it exacerbates that, oh, it's just overnight.
Yeah.
It just happens like that.
Yeah.
And
so much work.
it is so much work. And the work you're still putting in, it's really inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
One of the things that we are doing is we don't want to call it a book club, but it's kind of like this. Do you read?
I love books.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a memoir junkie.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I've read a lot. I read a lot of 70s and 60s and 70s memoirs, or slashes. But we are starting this. We're launching it this week. But we wanted to ask our guests, do you have books that you want to recommend, or
that inspired you,
or inspired you?
Absolutely. One of my favorite books of all time is The Alchemist.
Oh yeah,
one of my favorite books of all time. I would say within the last year, my favorites have been Viola Davis's memoir. Was absolutely amazing. Finding Me. So amazing. Michelle Obama also had an amazing one, an amazing memoir. Who's else did I see that was so
Do you have a lot of time to read on set?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a lot of time to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, those have been my favorites, but I love a good book. I feel like when I'm stressed out or when I feel I'm everywhere. Sometimes now I do more audiobooks just because I could do 2 things at once.
Right.
I can't.
Yeah.
So we were talking to somebody yesterday and somebody brought up audiobooks and I can't focus. I'm constantly hitting the back 10 seconds because I go into when I multi-process. I can't do it. But yeah. So I respect people who can do audiobooks.
I can, but I'm not. I have to do something that doesn't cause me to leave any more attention, cleaning or something I don't want to do, or in LA traffic, I'll put that on. Yeah. But I can't just read a book and listen to an audiobook at the same time. Yeah. I don't know how people do that.
I'm a paper book person. I'm old school.
I am too. However, because I'm already a heavy packer.
Yeah. 12 pounds of books.
Exactly.
With you everywhere you go.
Exactly. So I have by force.
Did a Kindle?
Yeah. On a Kindle or an audiobooks. I'm it's just I already carry so much stuff. It's more shoes or a book. Yeah. I'll put the book on my iPhone.
Yeah. What are there favorite books that you had as a child?
I didn't read as a child.
Really?
I hated it. It was a punishment for me.
Oh wow.
I regret it too.
There's so many good books.
I wish I would have known.
In different phases of your life. Yes. You feel like you miss out and then you have to catch up and then it's over.
That's how I feel. I feel man, if I would have read more, I feel I would have been more successful. Truthfully. I really do.
So when did you find books?
I was living in New York and I was just kind of depressed or whatever. So I was let me get out the house. Actually, when I was a kid, I did love chicken noodle. The chicken. Okay. Is it called chicken noodle soup? Or chicken.
Oh, noodle. Chicken soup for the soul.
Chicken soup for the soul. I did love those.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I did love those. But I was in New York and I was depressed. And I was let me just go to the bookstore. I didn't have any money. So I was I'll just go to the bookstore or something free. And I remember just walking around the bookstore and I found The Alchemist. And I sat there and read it all day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my love for books like really like honed in.
And that's such a moving book because just all of his books, no matter what the storyline are, his books always, they kind of like you find, I find with his books, I find them at the moment I'm supposed to find them.
Exactly.
Like The Alchemist, I remember when I was in my 20s and I found that book and I was like, oh my God, this is going to change my life.
Exactly.
And then you like, and then it was like.
Well, that's a story that gets passed on about that book.
Yes.
And he has so many others that are the same way that I feel like like if I'm drawn to his books in a book, there's a reason like the universe is like, it's time.
And no matter how much you read it.
Yeah.
Like you'll read it again and you'll get something from it. I can even tell you how much I read it, but like, I think I saw an excerpt the other day and I was like, man, did I miss that? Like, I love it.
Always
like,
go back.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, Carlacia, this has been such a pleasure to talk to you. We're so excited.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
We're so excited. And, you know, obviously, as I said, we'll be watching season 4.
Yes.
And you just gave me serious street cred today with my kid.
Absolutely.
We're so excited.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Oh, man, thank you. Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To stay up to date with In Her Words, join the conversation by following Women in Entertainment on our social channels and subscribe to our weekly newsletter at womeninentertainment.com.